Well, joining us right now is Canada's Minister of Health, Mark Holland. Minister, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, we have a few things to talk about, but I need to talk about the confidence vote today. Even with its failure to pass, I wonder if it concerns you that essentially this one motion creates more pressure for all opposition parties to trigger an election perhaps sooner than expected.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing about the Conservatives is they've always wanted an election. They wanted an election the day after the last election. You know, they've never had confidence in the government, never had any interest in working with us. So, you know, this isn't anything new, and it's not new to minority parliaments. I think what Canadians are going to look at is, what are you focused on? Are you focused on trying to help people and make them better? In my case, really focused on dental, on pharmacare, on the bilateral agreements that we've signed, on data and interoperability, and they're focused on politics. And I think every day that they focus on politics and not Canadians, then people see that that's where their heart is centered. And, you know, we have elections. They're going to happen. There's a set date. And I think in between those elections, people would like to focus on them and getting things done for them. And the Conservatives from day one in this Parliament have been focused on themselves and their politics and measuring office space as opposed to, you know, how do they help Canadians.
Is that enough of an argument, though? Because, no surprise, your party's been trailing Conservatives by double digits for a year now. How election ready are you if the plug is pulled on this Parliament?
Well, look, in a minority government, you always got to be ready for an election. You know, I mean, for sure we're ready. But the question is, you know, when do you focus on election and when do you focus on getting things done? For us, we're focused on the business of governing, and we have opposition parties, not in the form of the Conservatives, but the Bloc and the NDP, who continue to be interested in talking about how we can make things better. That's what we're focused on. So, you know, could there be an election? Of course, we always got to be ready for that. But my instinct is that people aren't looking for more politics in their life. They're not looking to, you know, hear more partisan talking points and slogans. They're really interested in solutions. And right now, it's a tough time. You know, it's not hard. I don't care what country you're in. You pick what the incumbent government is doing well. Every incumbent government's got these challenges. And so, you know, it doesn't, you know, a 10-year-old with a Google search can tell you what's wrong in the world. There's no courage in that. There's no vision in that. At some point, you know, the Conservatives are going to have to look people in the face and tell them what they're going to do. What are they going to do with dental care? What are they going to do with pharmacare? So, yeah, they're doing well right now, just lighting everything on fire and saying what's broken. But at some point, they're going to have to say what they're going to do differently. That's a big shift. That will happen in a campaign. And right now, in my view, it's not time for that.
Okay, so that is the motion of non-confidence. Let's switch over now to medically assisted death in Quebec, because as you know, the province is moving ahead, allowing people to essentially make arrangements for MAID. Now, if their diagnoses down the road makes it impossible for them to request the procedure. They're doing so without any type of amendment in the criminal code. Are you concerned about this move? Are they violating the law?
So, I mean, on the legal aspect, obviously that's being reviewed, and the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General, would have a view on that as he's developing it. But I can just speak more broadly. First of all, I have enormous sympathy for this. You know, my grandmother had Alzheimer's. It was devastating for our family to watch her go through that journey, and she was in a long-term care facility for 12, 13 years, the last 10 of which, you know, it wasn't even that she didn't recognize us. She really was in a vegetated state. It was devastating for her family. So I have enormous sympathy for this. But I also think, you know, we need as a country to be able to ask the question, how would this function? You know, and it's been our entire history that this hasn't been available. So I think doing it right, making sure that we have conversations, the system is ready, making sure that there's a conversation that happens nationally. I mean, that to me just makes a lot of sense. So, you know, Quebec, I fully respect both their jurisdiction and their position. But, you know, saying we've got to do it tomorrow and, you know, we're not willing to have a conversation other than just do it tomorrow, you know, we're going to have to look at that. Because to me, it's the kind of thing I don't want to get wrong. It's the kind of thing that I think we need to make sure as a country we get right and that we really interrogate where we're going on it.
Okay, but as you're trying to make sure that, you know, all your I's are dotted and your T's crossed, here you have Quebec moving ahead. They say they're going to start allowing this to happen by the end of October. is your government going to challenge that in court? Because again, they're doing this without any type of amendment in the criminal code.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's fair to say is it was just a week or two ago that they put their proposal forward. That, you know, as you can appreciate, doing a legal analysis of something takes a little bit of time. That's being undertaken right now. There's internal conversations, and we're going to come with what our response is very shortly. We're not quite there yet. We need a little bit more time, but, you know, that's under active consideration.
Okay, under active consideration. Is your government waiting for this to be decided by the courts? Because there was a parliamentary committee last year that essentially says this is something that Canada as a whole should be moving forward with. So with that recommendation, is what you're waiting for now basically an order from the court to do so?
No, I mean, I think what we're doing is, you know, as an example for my part, you know, I'm looking forward to a conversation with my provincial and territorial colleagues. You know, I really need to hear where things are at for them. We need to understand what implication a change in one jurisdiction would have to other jurisdictions. I'm having active conversations and have for a long time with sort of the system writ large, the health system writ large, around its level of preparedness, its concerns. You know, these things need to be deliberative and iterative. And, you know, that doesn't mean you wait forever, but it means you do have to do that sort of foundational work to understand. And so, you know, as well as for Canadians themselves to really think this thing through. You know, if you and I are to stop and have a talk about, you know, our loved ones and what situation they might be in, or even ourselves, you know, I don't think we talk enough about death, you know, and we tend to avoid these conversations. So I think there's a good opportunity there for us even to have those conversations in our own homes about, you know, how it should function and what would work for us or how should it work for the country.
Now, before you're gone, you mentioned pharmacare now before the Senate. What's the update there?
Well, I think conversations are going very well in the Senate. I appear before Senate committee having conversations with either my team or I, you know, practically every minute of every day with senators, getting them information they're requesting. They have a date of October 10th to have it exit the Senate. And we're ready to go. You know, in a parallel process, I've been working with provinces and territories, saying, look, if we can get royal assent, you know, what a deal might look like. It's one of the reasons in British Columbia we had the Memorandum of Understanding to sort of outline what a deal might look like. And what I thought was really exciting there was it wasn't just contraceptives and diabetes medication. We were able to go a step further and say also menopause hormone therapy, which is huge for women there. We did a great announcement at BC Women's Hospital. So I'm very anxious to get out there and get those deals signed, because these are drugs people need. These are drugs that are going to really save lives, to be quite frank, and, you know, really make a difference on affordability.
I'm hearing that royal assent by October the 10th. Is that what you're hearing?
That's what I'm saying. You know, that's kind of where things seem to be going at this point in time, but we're taking nothing for granted.
Okay. Mark Holland, appreciate the time.
Thanks so much.